So hello everybody, welcome to the session with Reporting with Project Crescent. I know we understand that this is already the end of the day, so thank you very much for staying with us. We'll try to make it very fun, very interactive, and we will make it very different from all the other sessions. So some of you have already gotten a keypad. Hold on to it. It's for the last part of the session, so make sure you stay till the end. All right, so my name is Cindy Song. I'm a program manager with Microsoft Reporting Services team. I've been with Microsoft for 4 years. The first 3 years with customer team, working on middle tier, for example, App Server and SQL Server. And recently, I joined the reporting services team. So this is Olivier.
Hi, my name is Olivier Matra. I'm French, as you might hear. I've been with Microsoft for about 5 years, working on Project Crescent with Cindy, and before that, working on Power Pivot, V1. Before that, I ran a company in France which was specializing in Microsoft BI, big surprise. And even before that, I was kind of with the dark force. I spent a few years working with Hyperion, another company which is very famous in the BI field, which is now an Oracle company.
All right, so you have already heard the new announcement of the new name. It's Power View.
And first cheesy animation for tonight.
Okay. Plenty more to come. So make sure you realize there is a space. We see some tweets that asking questions about whether there's a space. So Power View, we will be referring to it as Power View throughout this session. And just a reminder of if you want to tweet, the hashtag SQL Crescent or Power View will work. No space in the hashtag. Just to confuse you.
Lots of questions.
So in the next hour, you will learn what is Power View, its key features, and what organizations, early adopters, have already been using Power View for.
So another cheesy animation, very quick, to try and set the focus on your organization. So far you've been hearing quite a lot about Denali and Power View, and you've been seeing lots of amazing features, but you might not have seen so many presentations of what actual people in the real world, like us, basically do with the product. So the real heroes tonight, hopefully, are going to be you guys, your organizations, and we're going to try and demonstrate what others have been actually building using Power Pivot so far.
All right, here's the agenda slide. First, we'll talk about the big picture. Where does Power View sit in the Microsoft BI stack? And then Olivier will talk about some of the user experience design choices that we have chosen. And I'll come back and talk to you about some of the key features of Power View, highlighting some of those. And then we'll both share with you our favorite views that different organizations have built. Last, we'll have the call to action that after this session, hopefully you go and download the public beta, CTP3, and show off your talent of your organization as well. All right, Microsoft BI Stack. This is the data platform. And Microsoft has always been the user share leader. We have more than 50% deployment with SQL Server. SQL Server has many components inside. For example, analysis services, reporting services, and all these components are built to work together. At the same time, these components can work standalone as well. As you know, for example, reporting services can connect to all different kinds of data sources. On the top, we have the tools layer. That includes Office tools, SharePoint tools, for example, Excel services, Power Pivot, Performance Point, and our latest tool is Power View. Power View will ship with SQL Server Denali, which is the next version of SQL Server. It reuses the existing infrastructure, for example, Power Pivot, the infrastructure in analysis services, and reporting services, also SharePoint.
So Cindy, there's a question that we get a lot about, how does this tool fit in the existing framework? Basically, is it a replacement for or for that, or for this? So I think we want to address that very quick in this session as well.
That's a good question. So what's the relationship between Power View and the other existing tools? We see that Power View complements the other tools. It fills a scenario gap. Report Designer and Report Builder targets developers, IT pros, and power users. It's most often used for professional reporting and operational reporting. Power View targets end users and addresses ad hoc data exploration scenario. One day, if you become the Power Review champion in the BI community, or I should say, when you become the Power Review champion in the BI community,
One of you, of course.
you might get this question, does Power Review replace any existing tools? And the answer is no. And we hope that you help the others understand this message.
So we had that question even at lunch today, like, are you guys not sad to see Report Builder going away? I mean, no way. Report Builder is not going anywhere, right? Report Builder is still there, and Crescent is very different, as you can see. I shouldn't say Crescent, I should say Report. Yeah, whatever. You got me. Power Review. It's fresh.
So 3 design emphases. The first one is interactive. When you work with Power Review, Power Review is not like any existing tools. It does not distinguish between design phase and render phase. So when you work with Power Review on Canvas, you get the data right there. You can see it, and you can see it in different data layouts. Second is data exploration. When you see data, interact with data on Canvas, you can slice and dice with just a few clicks. So that will help you find interesting trends and interesting insights. Last is visual presentation. The meaning of collaboration has shifted from notion of printing to a notion of presentation. So we want you to find these interesting trends and insights and be able to present it right away. So it's ready to be consumed and presentation ready at all times. So if you don't remember anything from this session, we want to remember these 3 things: interactive, data exploration, and visual presentation. So this is how we've been defining Power Review. And we've been defining it with the word experience. So Olivier next will talk a little bit about how we chose some of the design choices for this experience.
Right. Thank you, Cindy. So you might have heard a little bit of that in the keynote as well this morning or in a few other sessions, but we really wanted to spend a few minutes on this because we spend, you wouldn't believe how much time we spend on trying to make sure we pick the right experiences for you guys, for our users. And so there's a good news here. The good news is that in Crescent, you don't get 1 experience, you get 2 experiences, 2 for the price of 1. It's very amazing. And so these 2 experiences are quite different, actually, and they correspond to our 2 personas. So what we call personas are the types of users that we are aiming to touch with our features. So the first persona, obviously, is people who build reports, or I should say Power Views. So those people are what we call information workers, and these information workers hopefully are familiar with traditional tools like Office. So they're familiar maybe with Excel. They know how to use the new ribbon. Who likes the ribbon in the room? Everybody loves the ribbon? Yeah, I love the ribbon. It took me a while to get to it, but then I love it now. So people love the ribbon. They love the canvas, being able to see, as Cindy said, see what report you're doing, live, without having to switch between modes. And they might be familiar with pivot tables. How many people in the room are familiar with pivot tables in Excel? Yeah, that's what I suspected, quite a few. And quite a few in your organizations as well. So we wanted to give those people a very familiar experience, and I'm going to show that in a few moments. Then there's the other experience, and the other experience is about consuming those views that the information workers build in an Office-like application. And now, when you're talking about making decisions, looking at the data, well, the data is king, right? You want to make room for the data. So basically, you want to get rid of everything that's not data. And that kind of experience, it took us some time to nail it, and I think we hope we nailed it, and you'll be judged. Was based on the Metro style. So anybody familiar with the Metro style of UX design? Everybody, awesome. Okay, second question, and this one I guess is going to be worth a T-shirt. Does anyone in the room know where Metro comes from? Why is it called Metro? Ding, ding. Subways where? Not in the UK, so but still worth a T-shirt, but not quite in the UK. Actually here, King County, the Seattle metropolitan area is what this is based on. And the reason for that is very obvious when you think about it. When you travel the subway or when you take the freeway, you want big signs, very visible. You don't want any chrome. You want to make snappy, fast decisions, right? So that's what inspired the Metro look and feel. So in a few words, few tenets, it's chromeless. What we call chrome is everything that's in the other experience. So the ribbon, the canvas, menus, sub-menus, right-clicks. Guess how many right-clicks there is in Crescent? 0, no right-click. All you get is Silverlight when you do a right-click. And that's by design. We don't want any right-clicks. Everything should be a few clicks away, to be simple, to be easy to use. It should be frictionless, so that refers to the notion of animations. You're going to see there is quite a few animations in Crescent, hopefully not as cheesy as the one I put in the slide deck. The whole point of animations is to convey value, to convey information. So they should be there, they should be present, they should be slightly subdued. They should help the data tell its own story. And we're going to show some examples of that. And so they should be very frictionless. In a moving world, they should be frictionless. And the last thing is they should be modern and clean. And so here's very quickly a few examples of Metro-like applications. Everybody's familiar with this one, I'm guessing? Yeah, Xbox, of course, Xbox and Xbox Live. Very sleek UI. Content is king. Obviously, what you want to know is, what are your games? Your nice avatar in the bottom right corner. No Chrome at all. Really, the best example possible. This is, anyone knows? Zune software. Again, content is king. The Chrome, what we call the Chrome, is reduced to a few buttons in the bottom right corner as well. Very minimalistic, very beautiful. I'll try to not crash into the wall. This one was up until very recently the most popular one, Windows Phone 7, which redefined basically what we mean by chromeless and by user-centric experience. You might have heard some of our VPs referring to this kind of UI as, we don't build phones for robots, we build them for people. And so in the same way, I could say we try to design and build Crescent for people, not for machines, click machines, basically. So we took a lot of inspiration in Windows Phone 7 as well. The next one is actually right from the design book about Metro. So it's basically an application of the guidelines that we found in the Metro book that Microsoft issued. This one, I'm guessing everybody is familiar with now. Okay, Windows 8, big, amazing product. And we are striving to get close to this right now and even closer in the future. So basically, the main goal being that we are ready for a variety of form factors, as you might have heard as well from the keynote this morning. So this is an example of Crescent. And you can probably already see a little bit what it shares, what it has in common with all these UIs. It's very clean, very sleek, very simple, we hope, elegant. Lots of room for the data, not too much room for anything else than the data. And that's the presentation mode, again, that we're going to talk about more in a while. Just a couple more slides before we go into our first demo. So just to say that when I talk about design tenets, when we talk at Microsoft about design tenets, we mean it quite literally. So you can see the thing hanging, the poster hanging on the wall on the right-hand side. So we have been starting to tape those about 1.5 years ago when we started the design for Crescent, so that everybody, every day, would make these values theirs. So you can see actually someone walking in the morning, and the first thing he's going to see, actually that's Jim, it's our test manager, so you can say hi. So Jim is going to see, first thing in the morning, what the design tenets are, and that's how we strive to implement them in the product. Okay, last cheesy animation for that part, I swear. So I'll let you read if you want a few of these design tenets. The ones I really like are actually very simple. The first one is less is more. So it's around the middle here. Less is more. And that's the whole Metro philosophy. Simplistic, sleek, chromeless. The other one that we're going to talk quite a bit tonight, Cindy, is 2 clicks to return on investment, second from the top. So this one is about making sure that no feature is hidden. If a feature should be hidden at a third level of depth, it's probably not a good feature. It's probably not the right way of doing it. So we actually spend quite a fair amount of time redesigning features, and we're going to have some great examples of that in Cindy's demo later, of features that were redesigned to be simpler, to be one click away, basically. The last thing is second from the bottom for users, hard on us. Believe me when I tell you that to make it that sleek and that simple takes lots of nights, lots of efforts, and we hope it was worth it. You guys tell us at the end of the session. So, thank you. Without further ado, I'm going to do my first demo for tonight. I'm looking to have a very simple demo, so hopefully it's going to be still very relevant. Hello World. So you're going to see it's not your typical Hello World application in that it does quite a bit more than what a typical Hello World application does. So I could go ahead and, so this is my design canvas, basically. How many of you have seen this already? How many have used it? Okay, fair proportion, okay. So very Office-like, very Excel-like. You can see my friend, the ribbon, at the top. You can see the canvas where I'm going to design my views. And you can see on the right-hand side a field list and field wells. So the field list and field wells contain what? Data source, information from the models. So that's where we integrate with the existing stack. We connect to Power Pivot models, semantic models built in AS or Power Pivot. So in this example, we decided to pick a data set that might be familiar to you. It's the data set of people who attend PAS this year. So there's a bunch of attendees, there's a bunch of dates, inscriptions, etc., speakers. I'm going to focus on sessions for now. So maybe I pick a measure, and you can see that measures have a small icon in front of them. And I click, session totals, so number of sessions. It needs to wake up. Thank you. And there is a total of 191 sessions tonight. Now I can break that down very easily using my Excel, my Office metaphor, by, let's say, session track. So one click away, and I get a nice table. We put the total for you by default because, again, you want to check that the sum of every row is the grand total. So that's fine, but it's not very, not very insightful yet. How do I make it insightful? Just changing visualizations. And you can see the big guy in the ribbon here is the visualizations gallery. That's how you switch with one click from one type to another type of visualization, and we do the right thing. We know what's on rows need to be on series, what's on columns needs to be on categories, etc., etc. So in this case, I can simply create a column chart, make it slightly bigger, and now here's my insight. Yes, where the main focus is, it's DBAs. How many DBAs in the room? Oh, that's it? Okay, not too many DBAs then. So also a fair representation of BI tracks. How many BI professionals in the room? Okay, perfect. Welcome. So first insight, very interesting. And then, I can simply click and get another type of visualization. So in this case, I switch from a column chart to a bar chart. Very simple transition. I can make it more colorful. So I can simply click my session track and make it a series. And what that does is say, okay, now I want one bar, basically, but colors. And what used to be data points now become categories, basically, for that single series of values. So very simple, very, very insightful, very straightforward, I would say. Now, we can make it slightly more interesting by looking at some other sorts of visualizations. For instance, the scatter plot. So what's interesting about the scatter plot is that it has 2 dimensions. Now I can start looking at my tracks, not only by total of sessions, but maybe total of something else. Why not total of attendees, for instance? So attendees totals, notice how I can just drag and drop to the canvas if I'm tired of checking. And you can see my bubbles rising all of a sudden, and they are represented in a 2-dimensional space now. So number of sessions per track and number of attendees per track as well. That gives me a fair idea of where the effort is, basically. What's even nicer about the bubble chart, about the scatter chart, is that it can become a bubble chart with just one click. All I need to do is add, guess what? A third measure. And all of a sudden, now that's meaningful. That means something. That means that not only is the DBA track the most attended in terms of tracks, not only does it the maximum number of attendees and sessions, but also it has a maximum pool of professionals delivering sessions, maximum pool of speakers. So again, something very simple. How many of you are familiar with Report Builder, for instance? Okay, quite a few. So wonderful tool. It's not going away. It's staying there. We are all experts. We love Report Builder. But see the difference in experiences, right? In Report Builder, to build this kind of visualization, you would need to connect to the data source, create a query, write a query maybe, or author a query using a UI tool, create the visualization, bind them together, and then render. Here it's like bang, 2 clicks. Okay, so that's the spirit. Trying to do everything fast, quick, and intuitive. Along those lines, I might want to have this broken down by day, right? I mean, it's a long event, so I might want to see what happens over time. Guess what? I can go to my dates table, and I can simply click on day. And again, I think it's a wonderful example of how to do the right thing by default. Thanks to our friends over in Analysis Services, which basically gave us the tools, which let us create a semantic model that says semantically a day is actually time. So we know how to use this time information in a bubble chart. And that's by using it as a play axis, which is one of the most beloved features, I would say, so far, in the tool. So very sleek animation. Again, remember I was talking about animations. Very easy to use as well. Now, the downside of these visualizations with the play axis is that it aggregates everything, right? I can see at every point in time, and I can play it. But what if I want to compare? Well, guess what? There is another visualization for that. And that is what we call the small multiples. To create a small multiple, I take my days, and I put them right here. And what this does, I'm going to go to this side of the room for once. What this does is create a visualization that sometimes is referred to as a trellis chart, or you might have heard also a dense chart or dense visualization, not because it's for dense folks, but because it's a lot of information packed into a very narrow space. So making the best use of the real estate on screen to present meaningful data. So here is my agenda for the week, basically. I know that if I'm really interested in special events, for instance, I should go more Wednesday, like the keynotes and stuff. If I'm more interested in DBA content, pretty much every day. And you can see that BI is also well represented pretty much every day except Tuesday, of course. So that was a very quick example. I forgot one thing, the title. So I'm going to call this Hello World, and align it to the left because that's Metro-like. And now I'm handing over to Cindy, who is going to spend more time deep diving into some of the key features that we've been working on in much more detail.
All right. Thank you, Olivier.
Sure.
Yeah.
You did the date in some just to fit in the window. If we have a lot of dates, if it takes scrolls or not?
Yes. Basically, the axis can adjust, and you can scroll, or you can even drill down, if you will, on the axis, on the play axis, or on the chart axis. Yep.
So if I understand your question correctly, basically you can specify like 3 by 3, 5 by 5. That's your question? Okay. All right. So now that you got a little teaser of the tool, so let me go into detail of some of the features that we want to highlight with you tonight. So the first one is multi-view. So if you have already used CTP3, the last public beta, you know that we only allow you to put data regions on one canvas only. If the canvas is full, you have to create a new file, or you have to delete something from canvas. So a feature that we heard that all of you really want is having multiple views. So now you can have multiple views, and you can have your train of thoughts. So here it is. As you can see, there's a view panel on the left-hand side, and you can look at what are the different views that you have, and you can jump to it if you want.
Ta-da! Is that amazing? Yes. Come on. You guys wanted it, right?
That's one of the most
very popular.
Yeah, very popular demand. So the second one I'd like to show you is query improvements. So let me go to that. So in this one, before I go on, let me introduce this data set is healthcare data set. So it's got doctor visits and also patient and medication prescription information.
So unfortunately, something that most of us can relate to as well, to some extent.
So let me zoom in a little. So here I have a table. It's with some of the disease names. And what I'll do is I will come to the field list and drag and drop diagnosis ID and turn that into a count. So that is something that you couldn't do with public beta CTP3. So in this case, I turned that into a measure. It's a count. And before, in CPU3, you have to go back to the model to create a measure. So now, given that I have a field and a measure, I can create a column chart and a bar chart very easily. And another feature I'd like to show here is called show all, like it says in the title. So if I come here to the description, the disease description names, there is an option called show items with no data. And this feature is the outer join scenario. So when I turn that on, maybe you didn't notice, right here, this first item has no data and now is showing up.
So it's per field. Again, yeah.
There's some clapping.
There's maybe less users who are interested in that, but those who are interested are very passionate about it. So,
Does that mean we can count any dimension?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can count as many dimensions as you want. Yeah, absolutely. We do have a distinct count as well, yes.
Yep, we have distinct count and also counting no blanks as well.
Along the same lines, I mean, not quite related, but somewhat related, we get the question of, can I just display a list of things? That's exactly what Cindy did, right? Before having any measure, she just had, a dump of things. So that's totally something that we support today.
Okay, another feature that helps answer questions is sorting. So I have a table here. Very straightforward. Clicking on the table header will help us do sort of that measure. So let me zoom in a little. So now we can see the most count for that measure.
How many clicks, Cindy?
Just 1 click, 2 click to see descending.
Initial design, how many clicks? Probably 5. No. Click, drop down, expand, click. Went back to the board, came up with this. Thanks to the attention of our managers, architects, who are very busy making sure we stick to those tenets.
So another thing that you can sort on is by alphabet. So you can sort on strings as well, alphabetically. For charts, you can sort with 1 click as well. So you can click on the field name here, cycle through it, or you can use the drop down. So in this case, I sorted by count of diagnosis. That's the measure in this chart. And I can click on ascending, descending to cycle through that as well.
So multi-sort, not in V1. No. So about sort in general, we got lots of questions and frankly, quite a bit of frustration from previous users of previous betas about, you guys are not supporting any sort. I mean, how come? It's not that we didn't want to do sort, obviously. I mean, it was, all along was the plan to deliver sort, but we wanted to deliver it the right way. And so again, we haven't come up with too many, that insightful scenarios to, add the complexity of doing multi-sort in an easy-to-use and user-friendly experience. So that's coming in the next release.
The next one is filters and slicers. So if you're not familiar with slicers, they're very similar to the slicers in Excel. So who
uses the slicers in Excel? Who loves the slicers in Excel? Same crowd. Thank you.
Okay. So we have 2 slicers here on canvas. What I just did is I selected south in one slicer, and let me do it again so you can see it. When I select something, the other slicer gets cross-filtered as well. So that's what I wanted to show you. And you can clear the slicer with the eraser icon on top.
Maybe a very quick question, but then we're not going to take questions anymore. Keep them to 40.
The bar color if you want?
TBD. We're thinking about it. At this point, no.
Just blue.
For now, yes. Are we thinking hard about it? Yes. For people who don't like blue, that happens.
So next, what I want to show you is this filter area. You can you can have it expanded, or you can collapse it, or you can close it completely using on the home ribbon. There is a button here. And slicers on canvas, what I talked about here, act like filter on canvas. And filter area is for you to create filters off canvas, and you can close it off. So that's the distinction there. So here in the view filter, as you can see, under the view tab, if I choose, let's say I take out south and west, this will filter the entire canvas, same as the slicers. And I can also filter just a data region by itself. By coming to the data region, and there's a filter icon, clicking on the filter icon, that will bring me to the chart filter here. Or if you just select the chart, there are 2 tabs here, and you can go to the chart filter that way as well. So in this filter, in the chart tab, everything I do here only impacts the chart. So this is a new feature since the public beta as well, and it's a very useful one when you want to only filter one area instead of the entire canvas. So let me demonstrate the search feature. For example, I type Washington, just start typing. I cannot see it.
Sorry. How many people love the fact
some.
that there is no search in Excel slicers? Not too many. Okay, so that's what we thought, and that was actually a commonly requested feature as well. Search in filters.
So just now I typed Washington, but I forgot that I already set a filter on the view filter. So I cleared that filter. Now I can find Washington. And some other things I want to show you is you can click on this button here to go to the advanced mode. And in here you have the start with, is blank, does not contain, so you can build more powerful filters. For a number, we provide this slider UI for you to do filter. And for dates, we have a calendar picker, so you can easily pick the dates.
So it's another example of trying to do the right thing by default. There is always, the basic view, which is adapted, basically optimized for the data type of your field. And then there's the advanced view where, basically you can go crazy and do all kinds of filters the way you want.
One last thing before I move on is I like to create a slicer using image. So I'm going to click on this. This is a table with a bunch of images. I can easily click on slicer in the ribbon, and that will create a slicer with images.
How many clicks was that? Just one.
All right, so the next thing I like to show you are some insightful charts. Let's focus our attention on this first chart here on the top right corner. So I will focus on it by popping it out. So this will expand it so we only look at this one chart at a time. So this is basically a chart at the x-axis has the age from 20-ish years old to 90-ish and number of doctor visits. So it has a spike in the middle around mid-age. Okay, so let me add something else to the chart. I'm going to add the number of diagnoses. So what I want to illustrate here, this feature is multiple measures on the same chart. Before in the public beta in CTP3, we didn't have this feature yet. So this is a new feature. So with this feature, we find some interesting insight here. So before the spike, there's some good correlation. But after the spike, every time you go to the doctor, you get diagnosed of something. So try to avoid doctors once you start aging.
After 40, typically don't go.
So let me add another measure, number of prescription.
No, don't do it. Just kidding.
So it just has some good correlation as well. So this is to illustrate that you can now have multiple measures on the same chart.
So what you did at before is you could have multiple series. So you could take like gender, for instance, and put it as series on the same chart. But now we do still support that, of course, and also measures. So it basically depends on how your model is built, and you don't have to think about it. You just use it, and it does the right thing.
One last thing, I would turn this into a small multiples. So let me scroll down a little bit and drag and drop region name into vertical multiples. And what this will do is create small multiples of line charts. So you can easily compare the different regions next to each other. Now let me pop it back in. So let's focus our attention to the bubble chart at the bottom. So let me pop this one out. So for this chart, you have seen several bubble charts so far today in different sessions, and also Olivier showed one earlier. So what I want to show here is a new feature we put into bubble chart, which is called color. So you see in the field well here, there's a thing called color. So if I drag and drop gender into color, I think of it as series in bubble chart. So what it will do is it will group all of the female data points into one color and male data points into one color. So you can easily see, before I did that, it was all different color, each bubble. So now you can easily see whether gender plays an important role in this data. Okay, so last, I want to show the highlighting between charts. So some of you may have already seen that. So let me pick, for example, I'll click on this blue column here, and that will refresh the entire canvas to reflect that specific context. But something interesting that we've done recently as a new feature, so to clear the highlighting, by the way, you can click on the column that you selected or click on the white space next to it. So let me pick on highlighting this bubble. What you've seen, so something new that we've done, I don't know if you can see at the back of the room, is that because this chart, the measure is an average, the highlighted value might be more than the original value. So what we've done is we've made the column skinnier and taller to show you that the highlighted value is more than the original value.
So think of what would happen if we just painted it on top of the average, right? You have the average for one region, which is on top of the average across regions. Basically, you don't see the average across all regions. So that's one other small thing. Well, I shouldn't say small because we spent a fair amount of time working on that. But one other cool example of how we do the right thing by default, no settings or anything, it just does the right thing.
Okay, so let me move on. All right, the next feature is called tiles. So to create a tile, I have a table. There's a button in the ribbon. You can click on it, and that will create, with one click, a tiles container. So this container contains one table inside right now. And what it'll do is it'll create this navigation area so you can scroll through each item and see that inside the container, this table is changing context given the relevant navigation item that I picked. Let me put this chart inside that container. So let me do Control X to cut and resize the container to be bigger and paste into the container. So now as I scroll through, the chart is changing as well, relevant to the context. And for example, if I pick pregnancy, this chart only shows female data. Right? Mm-hmm. The next item, so the last set of features I want to talk about are collaboration features.
Empty slide, I like that.
So if you go to the File menu, you see there's Save, Save As. We've put in a new Save As dialog so that you can easily use mouse to pick where on the SharePoint that you want to save this to.
Anybody familiar with how you do that in SharePoint natively? Type in URL. Oh, made a mistake. Tough luck.
So this will help avoid the human errors. So also we have the print feature so that you can print one view at a time with whatever you see on the screen.
We want to save trees one at a time.
So we also have the reading mode and full screen mode. So once you save this set of views to SharePoint, and you send a link to your colleagues, when they open it, they'll go into the reading mode, which looks like this. And when you present it, you can go into the full screen mode. And in full screen mode, we have this film strip at the bottom. When you click on this icon, this film strip will come out. And you can scroll to see which views you have, and you can hover over to preview it. And once you find the one that you want to go to, you can click on it to get there.
Is this cool or what? It's awesome. Thank you. Question, quick question. Not currently. The question was, can you link pages together? Not currently.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, last one, and then we take that offline. Yeah. Thinking about it. Okay, so the question is there any plan to make this available as a web part in SharePoint? I would say technically you can do it today. Are we going to support that officially? We're working on it.
All right, since we're running a little bit late on time,
yep,
we'll take questions after the session.
Absolutely.
Okay, sounds good. So during the keynote, you have heard a feature that I'm sure you're all wanting to see. Olivier, would you like to do the honor?
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to present to you this feature. Ta-da! So it's a boring SharePoint view. Okay, nothing too exciting. The exciting part is here that I'm actually pointing to a server in the Redmond domain, so back in our on the campus, basically. And the reason for that is because I'm going to demo a feature, or try to demo a feature that's fresh from the oven. And that feature we got clearance to show just today, actually, or yesterday evening, very late. And that's this one. So that's basically a report, pretty much like the one Cindy showed. And there's a file menu, and you saw what the file menu has. And here's one more little thing, export to PowerPoint. So pretty amazing effort of the team. How it works, basically, I'm in preview mode or in design mode, doesn't matter. I go export to PowerPoint, goes through all my views. Should go through all my views, right? And it's going to take snapshots of each of the views, one by one. And I should have executed the queries before. And then it's going to create a PowerPoint deck. So once that is done, which is close to be the case, it's going to simply download it onto the client. I'm going to go save as. I'm going to put it on the desktop. And then I'm going to open it. All right, so that's my PowerPoint. So no tricks here, right? I can actually apply, any PowerPoint template. Maybe not this one, maybe that one. Okay, and then I can go to any of my views, and I can go to presentation mode, and I can see my data. So it's a snapshot of the data that I exported, basically. But furthermore, I can click on there. And guess what? It's going to reconnect to my data source, reconnect to my report, and I'm going to have my live data view of Power View inside my PowerPoint slide. It's coming up. Fresh from the oven, I told you. Like 2 days ago, literally, we were still debugging this thing. And we found quite a few bugs, and we solved all of them. That's expected, believe me. That's expected. We're working on it, and it is coming. Yeah! And now I can, yep, that's my live view. See, it's refreshing, highlight, bar. So amazing team effort on that. Well, I cannot tell you how happy we are to be able to ship this thing. We've been working very hard on it. So.
All right, so you want to talk about the view galore?
Yeah, absolutely. So we can start. Basically, another phase. I would say probably the most interesting phase in our presentation. We promised that you guys were the heroes and that our customers and partners were the heroes. And so we're going to spend some time looking at some of the things that these heroes have been creating. So where should I go again? I guess it's this one. And so basically, I'm going to present a handful of reports I really like. And then Cindy is going to do the same. And we're going to try to highlight what's interesting or not and what's more interesting specifically in these reports. And then going to have another fun part, I promise. So this one, I should give credit to Thierry, who built it. Not because he's my manager, but because it's really a cool view. I love it. Also because it's a great cause. So it's the most probably, everybody has heard about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Basically, it's funding a bunch of initiatives across the country and also across the world, targeted at 3 main areas. The first one being the global development. Second one, global health across the world as well. And so a third one, United States. So nationally, more specifically geared towards education. So what I like about it is it's presented like a if you want end of year package or financial package, like a report or like a folder if you want of views. So there's a beautiful first page, and then there's a bunch of views, and the views basically walk you through a story. So again, the data can tell you things like I go to this view, and it's telling me immediately that, okay, the main effort is focused on North America, but see, it's pretty present as well in Europe. So first, top left corner chart. The second chart is telling me that global health is probably the major receiver of funds, but again, United States, and in particular education in the US, is a very heavy area of focus, and so on and so forth. At the bottom, you can see another view which is basically showing that the number and the amount of grants is growing over time. So I can now go to another view. Maybe I switch to the second view. And this one is showing me the same. So amount and number of grants over time. and you can see some interesting spikes, so interesting insights. In 2009, for instance, in 1999, for instance, there's a huge spike in terms of grant amount, but no spike in terms of grant count. What does it mean? Obviously, there was one huge, gigantic grant that was funded at that point in time. So I can go on and go on like this. I could, review maybe how my grants evolve over time, maybe if there is any kind of seasonality. I could see the list. So again, a good example of a list, flat list of things that I can filter across using my slicers. And I want to show you the last one, which is one of my favorites, which is the bubble chart. And the bubble chart is interesting because, again, it shows me how things evolve over time. So on the x-axis, in this case, I have the total amount of the grants. On the y-axis, what I have is the average of every grant. So basically, in the top left area is the area where there's many smaller grants, basically, and the more you move to the right, the bigger the grants are. So I can rewind, to the beginning. Wake up, thank you. And I can go see precisely in 1999 what happened. Well, you can see North America is jumping up, basically, or jumping to the right. So that's the education effort that the foundation started in these years. And then in the years thereafter, you can see other countries and other regions like Africa, for instance, in the 2005, 6, and that's obviously the battle against malaria that has been started then, and that's still going on, et cetera, et cetera. So beautiful report, wonderful utilization of all the features to tell a story with the data for a good cause. So I think it's pretty amazing. I wanted to show that one. Another one, how many of you folks have seen this one today? Not too many. Okay, so I might take some time to talk about it. So this one, not only I, but pretty much all the team loves it. So one of our developers put it together for review, and we keep using it because it's so beautiful. So illustrates what Crescent and PowerView, can do for you. So what we're looking at here is the population of the US. So it's based on public data from the census back in 2000. And that tells us, so on the x-axis, what you got is age ranges. So from 0 to 100. So not too many people in the 100 range, of course, but quite a few elsewhere. You can see around the 40s, like the baby boomers. So, people, it's basically the spike. And that's today. And so the whole point is to do simulation. So who knew that you could actually do what if and simulation in Crescent? Well, it's very easy, right? All you need is a bunch of tables and a bunch of filters. And in this case, what we have is 2 filters, one for life expectancy and one for natality or fertility. So basically, the first one is about how long do we expect people in the US to live in the coming years. And the second one is how many babies per woman on average in the US. And the third one is how long do we want the projection to be. So we're projecting 20 years from now. And so what that is telling us is with the current average of life expectancy of like 74 in the US, something like that, a bit higher actually, and natality around 2.5, something. When you move towards the end, you can see my nice bubbles aligning. So it looks like, almost looks like ADM, It looks like it's coming alive. And what you can see is my baby boomers are still there. They have a long, happy life, but they are closer, so the spike is closer to the retirement. So that's what that's really telling me is that the red section, the workforce, basically is shrinking and getting older. And since the natality is not that high, you can see the beginning of the curve flattening up as well. So less children, basically aging population. And that's how very easily, very simply, you can do a beautiful visualization that, again, tells a story. It's just amazing. I just love it. So creative, too. The last one was put together by one of our coworkers, Bob. I don't know if Bob is here. Okay. Bob, if you hear us, hey, that's your minute of fame, or hour. So it's about lettuce production, and lettuce consumption in the US. So pretty cool. I'm going to use that example to showcase a couple of features, interesting creative features as well, or interesting and creative way of using the features. So the first one is, you can see I have this thing, this container with the images that we call anyone? Tile, t-shirt? Okay, too late. So we have a tile, and inside the tile we have a bunch of tables and charts. Now, if I go to leaf letters, for instance, for some reason, don't ask me why, I'm not an expert here, but for some reason, the consumption of letters of type leaf has, kind of skyrocketed over the past few years. And so that's very visible when you compare, side by side, especially with the first one. Now, the thing is, this might be misleading. And the reason why it's misleading is because our charts are clever, and they adjust their scales and their axes for every chunk, for every range, basically. So if you notice, if I go to my first type of letters, my max value is 30 on the chart. If I go to the second one, my max value is 4, right? So what if I want to compare side by side? So option A, I could actually create a trace chart or a small multiple. Option B, I can still keep my chart as it is and go to one slightly advanced option that says I want to synchronize across all ranges, across all values for my tile. And now you can see when I do that, it basically you see that my line is actually much flatter than it seemed to be. So insights are great, but don't make the data lie. I mean, make sure that you understand your model as well, and we try to provide the right tools to adjust the visualization so that it doesn't lie. The second one is second view in this report is fairly interesting too. It's what's the top part? Anyone? T-shirt. Who said that? Okay, T-shirt. Thank you. So small multiples where you can compare side by side. Compare side by side the exports of letters. So you can see basically the US exports more to Japan than to Netherlands for some reason. I mean, it seems very obvious, right? Quick note, axis synchronization and of charts automatically is automatically on for trace chart, for small multiples. Because you see them side by side, right? So you do want to be able to compare them together. So that's actually not what I wanted to focus on in this view. What I wanted to focus on is this thing. We have a very simple text box here, and we're using it to add a comment. So, again, it's pretty trivial, but you can now overlap text boxes or pretty much any visualization on top of any other visualization. And one cool way of using that is to annotate your report. Aside from the fact that it also supports multiple measures, which is a given. So that's pretty much it for my views. Cindy, you want to present yours?
Yep. So
Okay,
I have
give you the
3
floor.
views that I'd like to share with you as well. The first one, this is from Microsoft IT. So this is one of our internal TAP customer, TAP meaning early adopters. So they have built this for their monthly review with their leadership team. What you can see here is they have 5 or 6 different views in this report. And one thing I wanted to mention is that before they started using Power View, they have 12 organizations and 5 slides in PowerPoint for each organization. So business analysts have to update 60 slides every time to prepare for the monthly review. Now they just have this one Power View set of views, and they use filter to change the context to go to different organization when they have this monthly review. So now this is a big productivity gain. So this first view is basically like a cover page, just like the Gates Foundation one. The second one I want to show you, this one shows a table of key contexts. So you can use the slicer on the side to find your key contexts for different orgs and different application criticality. The next one. So in this one, you have a couple slicers on the left-hand side and some charts on the right-hand side. So again, they can use the slicer of organization to focus in on one organization only and look at, for example, clicking on the legends. Here it says immediate, so I click on immediate, and the immediate incidents are the ones that drive the most cost for them. So they want to focus on those to see if they can drive the cost down. Other things you can do is clicking on a line. So if I click on this green one, which is QFE, so that's like quick fix, right? So basically, you can focus on that specific context. So I won't go through the rest of the views, but this is a really good example of how our early adopter, our TAP customers, are using it already for their monthly review.
Real life, no letters, no nothing. Actual products, saving people time so that they can enjoy their lifetime outside of work. So pretty cool.
Yep. So the second one is from our TAP customer in China. This is from China Sports Lottery. So what they do is they have a bunch of sales stations all over China, and they have tons of millions of rows of data. And they have used PowerView to build this report to help them understand which sales station needs to have a sales event soon, or which one's doing well, which one's not doing well. So I wanted to show you, they have two views here. The second one, it has a bubble chart. So one example that the TAP customer told me is basically they sell these lottery tickets, and there's units. So for example, $2 per unit. And you can buy how many ever number of units per ticket. So in the bubble chart, they can see the correlation between how many tickets you bought versus how many units to see your purchasing power versus how actively you're following this sports lottery. So this is just another example of how our TAP customers are using PowerView today. Last example from me. This is from one of our TAP customers as well. This is an employee survey. So basically a survey that the employees took anonymously to see how the organization's doing. So if I click on, for example, out of category 1, yellow means favorite positive answer. I click on that, and I can see at the bottom which answers contribute to that category very easily, and see which answer I do really well, which answers I'm not doing that well. And I can also, so let me unhighlight by clicking on the bar here. I can also click on the legend, which we've shown you earlier. What I'll do here is clicking on the slicer, choosing positive in the slicer. Now I can have the chart here sort so that I can see which question that we do the best versus not the best, so which ones I can work on or to improve. So our TAP customer is using this to help review this survey data with their leadership team to see how they can improve their organization. One last view I want to show you.
And it's a big organization.
Yeah, one last view I'd like to show you is I will sort this. This is the same data set. So employee survey, I can see which question I do comparing to previous year, which question I improved, and which question I'm not doing as well as last year. Let me pick this one, second to the last. So for this question, I do worse than last year, but let's take a look. At the bottom, you will see that did all the people respond shifting to neutral or shifting to negative responses. So we see that most of these responses shifted to neutral, so that's not as bad as everything shifting to negative. So this is just a very creative, very good example of how another TAP customer uses our tool.
Pretty awesome. So you guys remember all the cool visualizations we've seen. Remember there's lettuce, there's the health, there is China. Kind of, have a picture of that in your mind. Okay, we might ask you a few questions about that in a while. So stay tuned. And now for the fun part.
All right. So we're now ready to show you another demo, which is called the data refresh demo. But before we do that, we'd like your help. So we need you to participate. So everybody's got a small keypad. If you don't have one, raise your hand so that our volunteers can go around to give you a small keypad. No more?
Okay. We're sold out. Sorry.
It's just as entertaining to watch, I promise. All right, so how does this work?
You get a T-shirt, sir.
So how does this work? You have your keypad. Take a look at your keypad. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Oops.
Make sure to have number 1 on top so you get, so that you can submit your answers to my receiver here at the laptop. So what we'll do is we have 5 questions. You tell us your answers using the keypad, and then we'll have that data in Excel, and then we'll refresh the data at the data source level in Power Pivot, and then you see your answers show up in PowerView.
Makes sense? Okay, ready?
So this is the first question. Before I hit the timer, I'll have some time for you to read it. What is your role at work? So hold on a sec. Let me start the timer.
Okay, redo. Okay, you can go. Okay, one more. Who's 22? All right.
All right, next question.
Okay.
Where are you from?
So please don't copy on your neighbor's sheet. Make sure you're honest. Tell us where you come from.
number 3. What is your favorite feature
So,
out of these 5?
so PowerPoint export was kind of outside.
So you have 10 seconds to put it in.
That was
That was
fast.
too fast? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll start timer a little later. I'll give you some time to read this. When do you plan on deploying Power View?
Now, give me the bits. Okay,
Okay,
timer.
are you ready? I'm going to start a timer.
Nice music.
All right, last question. Which one is your favorite view? So you cannot see. Number 5 is Microsoft IT. And we tried to put some screenshots there too.
All right.
All right.
So who is the winner now?
So what we'll do is we will use our add-in here to generate a report in Excel. And we will overwrite an existing Excel with the new data. And we'll go over to our SharePoint. In here, we have a Power Pivot model. So I'll click on this, which will give us, the first time you click on it, it will show you this view where you can configure to refresh your data to like daily or weekly. So in this case, we're going to refresh right away. So I'm going to
Just
click
now.
on this.
Yes. do
Also,
it.
it says also refresh as soon as possible. So I'll say OK. And I have opened this tab already to monitor it. So this entry here shows that we did something to the schedule. So as you can see before, it takes about 6 to 16 seconds. So we'll play some
You
music
might have
while
seen
we
some
wait.
dry runs here as well. That didn't go that well.
So we'll just refresh this until it shows up.
No pressure. Oh, here it goes. It's coming.
All right.
Now the results. We want to see the results.
All right, the results. So we have already built a view. So what we'll do, this is from data from our dry run with our teammates. So you see this says 13. I'll zoom in. There was 13 counts. So let me refresh using this refresh button. And let's see how many people participated.
Wow, not bad.
113.
That's the number of keypads, I guess.
So it looks like Dr. Visits have won the most votes.
Wow, hooray for Ricardo who put it together. It's pretty amazing. Love it. Yeah, Ricardo, this guy over there.
All right, and our favorite feature is multiple views and
Right.
view panel.
Guess what? That's also Ricardo, actually. And a bunch of other folks.
And here what we have is a tiles. So if I select Dr. Visit, let's take a look. So a lot of counts, a lot of votes from North America, some Europe. So let's take a look at the Chinese top customer. Okay. I have some from Europe, some from North America voting for it. Great. And last, I'm going to choose to see which
majority
when
of folks
people
want
want
to
to deploy.
Deploy now, which is pretty
So a
amazing.
lot of people want to deploy
Awesome.
now. Great.
Yay! That's the best result.
And I'll click on it to kind of slice and dice and see, okay, so people want to deploy now, about more than half, like multiple views, for example. So these are just some interesting trends and insights that you can find using Power View. So that concludes the data refresh demo.
Awesome.
And let's go back. We had just
Just
two
one
more
more slide.
slides.
Yeah, 2 more slides. So the first one is the easy one. So we saw how Power Pivot does not replace any products. It integrates in the Microsoft BI stack. It leverages all the investments we've done so far, and it pushes the envelope even further for ad hoc analysis and viewing of the data. UX design tenets, I told a lot about it. Hopefully you get a better sense of, how we did it in the product and how that translates into cool user experiences and insightful user experiences. Feature highlights, you saw that, Cindy did it. Use Galore, some amazing, amazing visualizations. We are so excited to have been able to show them to you tonight. And hopefully you can, take that away with you tonight and you can start, doing your own amazing views in your organizations. So last word of wisdom or ask from you. Please return the keypads.
So 3 call to actions. So please go back and download the CTP3. That's the public beta available. And you can show off your organization's talent as well. And when you leave the room, please fill out your evaluation and return the keypads. And we have a USB stick to give you when you return the keypad and the evaluation. And here are our email addresses. Feel free to email us. And we will be at the pavilion tonight to answer questions and also tomorrow around lunchtime. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.